And, you know, I would have those conversations with Louise, and Louise said, Ron, believe me, I understand where you're coming from, but nobody cares. No, there weren't enough fans of the old Kesar or any of the old Kesar series to succeed. This one's actually succeeding. So we don't feel like there are any fans that are waiting to see what you're waiting to see. So it's not going to happen. And she wasn't wrong, you know. It broke my heart, but she wasn't wrong.
But I think she may have been surprised, or she may not have been wrong, but I think she may have been surprised. And I think that that story could have been told without in any way deterring or changing what was currently happening, but it would have served as just a bridge. And that bridge, those bridges are important. And while fans may not have been clamoring for it, one of the things that I love about the Marvel Universe pre the changes of the philosophy that you're talking about is the absolute connection within that universe. It was fascinating to me because you'd read a Hulk comic book and something would happen in the Hulk comic book that's referencing of something that happened in Ghost Rider. And we were living in that same world, and that continuity was extremely important. So I disagree with I don't mind disagreeing with Louise Simonson.
But it was, you know, it was something that stuck in my craw because I was such a big fan of the original version.
Of course. So
as a fan, I know that kind of connection, that kind of a bridge is important. It can be really important for the fans. So that's why we did what we did in Thor. That's why we do what we did in Spider-Girl. I mean, there's nothing in Spider-Girl that suggests that
exactly
failure or that Pete didn't do what I mean, the whole point of the MC2 universe is that the heroes actually accomplished what they set out to do and made the world a better place.
Absolutely.
And now when young people find themselves in a situation where they get superpowers or that they find out that they're a legacy or something, they embrace it. And that's a good thing. They want to do what those guys did because it's not a dark future where those guys were outlawed or went evil or something. It's a future where those guys, they did a lot of good work and they saved a lot of people. And who wouldn't want to be part of that? You know, who wouldn't want to be part of something?
Absolutely.
So so it was never a situation where, you know, Pete needed to regret anything he did as Spider-Man or wasn't considered a hero. In fact, before Spider-Man ever joined the Avengers, we suggested in MC2 that Spider-Man was one of the Avengers at some point.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, at one point he goes to Avengers Mansion and Jarvis greets him as, you know, it's wonderful to have you back, sir, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And I fondly remember my time with the Avengers, Jarvis, you know, that kind of thing. And then it was a few months later, I think, that Bendis put him in the new team. So,
Mr. Ron, I have to ask this question, please. One of the things that Franz and I were talking about a couple of days ago was the concept of taking a lot of the original books, whether they be from Stan's days, yours, Steve Ditko's, John Romita's, and attempting to animate them as something new, but telling the original stories.
Right.
Taking the original artwork and just updating it just a touch enough. We both feel that would really re-energize the audience for all of this material.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on such a thing?
I don't think I would really enjoy it as a fan. I would enjoy the heck out of something like that. But you know, animation in this country is, you know, Disney Plus, and it's directed at kids. And you know, I really enjoyed Justice League Unlimited. I love the writing.
Oh yeah, great stuff.
The Avengers, the first Avengers series,
Avengers Assemble was also great.
Avengers Assemble, I didn't follow as much, but it always each subsequent. My favorite Spider-Man of the modern Spider-Mans was the Spectacular Spider-Man, where they were mixing all of the timelines and they were still staying very true, I felt, to the vibe, to the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko vibe, but they were using characters from much later in the timeline and all this kind of stuff. And they were the first ones before the movies to start getting a little more variety in the supporting cast as far as racially and all that kind of stuff, which I really appreciated, and I thought they did to an effective degree. And so those kinds of things. I mean, if you're talking about New York, yeah, there are a lot of things that need to be updated, and especially with the mix, the racial mix of the characters and stuff. New York, for God's sakes, is the melting pot. I mean, it's almost inconceivable to have a supporting cast that's all white people anymore. It's So, I mean, I have no problem with those kind of decisions. I didn't have any problem with Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin at all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
There are a lot of those types of things don't bother me much at all. And doing female versions of the character, I'm as guilty of that as anybody. I mean, we did American Dream and, in A Next, and so I think if it opens up the audience a little bit, I mean, Spider-Girl had a terrific female readership. I mean, that kind of representation is important. I mean, when everything was happening around the Black Panther movie, and there were people going, how do you feel about that? I said, what do you mean, how do I feel about it? I always loved the Black Panther as a character, but he goes, yeah, but aren't they making like too big a deal out of it? I said, it's a huge deal, just not for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just not for me. It's a huge deal for people who never felt represented in these movies and in these comics. I mean, to have people that look like them is very, very, very important. One of the reasons Spider-Man has always been popular around the world is that projection. Is that exactly a full face mask, so it's not prohibitive of a kid of any race to project himself onto the character. But Miles Morales, how does Miles Morales somehow invalidate Peter Parker? That's ludicrous. Just keep writing Peter Parker stories, that kind of thing. So I don't have a problem with some of that.
I mean, this has been a joy, a pleasure, a dream. Pick one. It's just
it was wonderful meeting you guys, and I look forward to doing it again. So we'll definitely
absolutely. Thank you so very much. Really, truly, it's an honor and a pleasure. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you.
I guess we'll say goodbye, Kevin.
May the force be with you, sir.
And you.
This looks like a job for Superman.
Hey, look! It's Spider-Man!
The dynamic duo return next week. Don't miss it.